Today, we'll examine the impact of the so-called Great Financial Crisis and crises and market volatility in general. We'll hear from an outstanding lineup of speakers representing diverse viewpoints.
If you think about the last 20 years, it's clear that the two most important days in those 18 years, the new millennium, for the United States and for the world were September the 11th and September the 15th, the fall of Lehman Brothers. Two events with global ramifications that spread instantaneously, but also of long-lasting impact on our world.
The global financial crisis that followed is still a fresh memory for many of us. The good news is that we are still standing. The bad news is that there's still much we don't know about what causes these crises. And we don't know whether the next major crisis, and there will inevitably be one, will look like previous crises or like something entirely different.
So there's lots of reasons why both retail and institutional traders have embraced ETFs. Now, as an academic, I'm a natural skeptic, and so when everybody likes something, I ask the question, well, should I be concerned?
We're most fortunate to have Nobel laureate Bob Shiller of Yale and Wharton School's Jeremy Siegel with us for today's keynote. They are taking the stage together for the first time in more than a year to renew their long-running debate on stock price valuations, market predictability, and their implications for researchers and practitioners alike.
I'm delighted to introduce Bob Shiller. He's one of those rare scholars whose accomplishments have been recognized not only by his fellow academics, but in the public mind as well.
It's my great pleasure to welcome Jeremy Siegel back to the Jacobs Levy Center. Then, as today, the topic was the CAPE ratio, which gives you an idea of how long this debate between Jeremy and Bob has endured.
The market is filled with real people, and they have their own stories they're telling and ideas that change from time to time. Right now, we are in this real boom period in terms of earnings. So should we think like 1916 or not? Is this temporary?
Bob recognized the mean reversion. I see it too. There's just been a number of changes that I think have taken it off that give you a different long-run picture on equity returns.
We have with us today authors from each of the winning papers, and we'd like to invite Andrew Ang, Jun Liu, Krista Schwarz, Christian Opp, and Rob Stambaugh to join us at the podium to accept their awards. Congratulations.
It's clear when you look through the bios, the speakers represent a diverse background, including academic and practice, and they have lots of experiences relating to the financial crises.
Despite the fact that there have literally been, probably at last count, 80 to 100 books written on the crisis, it's remarkable how much controversy remains. For example, there is no real consensus on when it all began.
I will be talking about free lunch strategies and how and why these free lunch strategies combust.
Most of the financial crises actually start with some new product or a new approach to investing.
I don't have a magic formula to predict crashes, but you see the same cyclical endogenous behavior, and the signs are almost always the same.
There are a variety of warning signs, and I do think we haven't learned so well some of the lessons we perhaps should have learned.
Is there any way that we can give researchers and regulators a more powerful tool to understand when risks are building up within the banking and financial sector?
And I commend the authors for taking a stand on what are emerging risks today, as opposed to just looking back at what was important in the past. And part of what's interesting about the paper is that the risks are identified using this novel application of natural language processing techniques.
So financial economists would say, it's fine to call something like that after the fact, but can you say anything ex ante? Can you say anything before the fact, before the prices have actually crashed, that you can actually characterize a particular period as being a bubble? And that's really what this paper is about.
We're going to call that a potential bubble. But the question is, if you've had a run-up in the last 2 years, you know, is that a bubble, or maybe that's just a lot of good news?
So there are lots of questions, but I'm so pleased that this conference is going to focus on the core competence of this center, and clearly, by the evidence of all the people in the room, something that really matters to you.